good afternoon, good evening to each of you. Thank you very much for showing up and attending this first meeting of the Interdisciplinary Students Research Association. We are a group of graduate students predominantly here on campus who make it our business to inform young and upcoming researchers about the processes and the requirements involved from a student's perspective. Today we have with us Dr. Elaine as well as Monica from the Office of Graduate Programs here at Florida Tech. And they're going to be telling us about the requirements related to thesis and dissertation creation and submission. This is going to be very informative for you guys who are in graduate programs, and those of you who are in undergraduate programs looking forward to entering into a master's program or a PhD program soon. This will be very useful information for you. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Elaine and Monica to begin their presentation.
Thank you, Troy. It's really a pleasure to be here this evening to, along with Monica DeFelice Robinson. Monica is the coordinator of graduate student services in our office. And we're really going to overview sort of part one, which is just requirements every graduate student should know if you're going to embark on the journey of your master's degree or doctoral degree, master's degree in which you prepare a thesis. We have a part two, which is very, very specific about the submission and turn-in process. So if you want to invite us back at some later point for that part, we hadn't planned on getting into that piece of it tonight. Because of time constraints, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the full presentation, and then you can jot down any slide that you want us to return to. Now, my doctorate is in educational psychology, and I'm going to break a rule here. I'm going to pass out my slides, knowing full well that some of you might want to just ignore what I'm saying and flip through it. I'm asking that you please not do that. If you please will just go ahead and kind of keep with me on the slide that I'm on. That's great. Okay, so first, what I'd like to do is just give you an overview. I'd like to say who we are, where we're located, and how we can help you in this thesis and dissertation journey. Who we are. Okay, because it's late in the evening, I want to just sort of wake you up with a pop quiz. Tell me, please. It seems nowadays everybody's sort of busy. We try to abbreviate things. Everything's on a microwave type generation. Can you tell me, those of you who know this, what this is the abbreviation for? Yell it out. Yell like I'm a little older and I can't hear that well. It says KFC. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Exactly. Wonderful. What is this one? Burger King. Excellent. Excellent. Now this one's a little tougher. OGP, right?
Office of Graduate Programs.
Office of Graduate Programs. See how? Now this wasn't just a mindless game. It's very important when we talk, if you're trying to find us on the website, to put in the word office. Office of Graduate Programs, because if you simply put in graduate programs, what you'll get is a list of 127 graduate programs that we have here at Florida Tech, and there are links to the program. So you need to use the word office, graduate programs, office, or office of graduate programs that'll help you find us. Okay, so who we are a small office, small but mighty. We are just three of us. Monica, who over here, Monica, and Patty. So it's just the three of us, and we are we are located in the academic quad here on the Melbourne campus. We're kind of a challenge to find because we're hidden behind some plants and things. But if you try real hard, you can find us in academic quad room 100. Okay. And we're also located in, Monica, can you click on that Office of Graduate Programs link and see if it's working? Oh, you want me to touch it? It's easier to, so if I want to do that, I have to touch it. Okay. All right, I just wanted to show you the area that we're located in on campus. You all know where, raise your hand if you know where the statue of President Cooper is. Have you seen it? Okay, so to find us, and it's a challenge, you pretend that you are President Cooper. So you'd be standing like this, and then you take your right hand and you point at 2 o'clock. And we are located at 2 o'clock. So if you can remember it that way. Some students told me what the GPS was, but then I forgot it. So that's where we're located. Now how do I get back to where we're going? Okay, here we go. All right, so how we can help you? Well, that's what this presentation is about. Okay, can you do the next one, please? Alrighty, yeah. All right, but I just finished telling you a little bit about us. Now, what I'd like to find out is a little bit more. We're going to shift from us to you. First of all, congratulations to all of you for deciding to venture off into a graduate program at Florida Tech. That said, look very carefully at the photo. See the cookies? I know that many, if not all of you, have other things going on in your life other than simply being a student at Florida Tech. Raise your hand if you have any kind of a job, like a part-time job. Anybody? I have a full-time job. Yeah. And raise your hand if you have any friends. Some friends. Because friends take time. Family, that kind of thing takes time. So that's you. See that little ant underneath that stack? That's you carrying all those responsibilities. And you need to enlist the support of your friends, if you have them, of your family, if you have them, of your supervisor at work, if you're working, because you can't do it alone. You just can't without that support. That said, you're going to be responsible for knowing graduate policy. Can't say, oh, gee, I didn't know the speed limit was 40. You know, it's the same thing with graduate policy. There are people here to help you, but you need to take advantage of that. Respect your committee members' time and expertise. You will each have a committee, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Those are faculty members. They also have a full-time job, and they have many other students besides you. So you need to respect their time. Let me give you an example. We have a requirement that says if you are a thesis student, you need to provide to your committee members your thesis 2 weeks in advance of your defense of your thesis. You figure 2 weeks, that's enough time to give them. It's up to them. They're perfectly allowed to put that thesis on the corner of their desk for a week and 6 days if they want to. That's their prerogative. But you are supposed to get it to them 2 weeks ahead of time. So that's what I mean, being respectful of their time, because they have classes to teach, they have research to do, and they have other students as well. So please be respectful of that. And know that you're going to, it's not like writing a term paper, especially if you were a good student, for example, in high school. And when you did things, you did it perfectly the first time. That's not what a thesis is all about. That's not what a dissertation is all about. You write it, you submit it to your committee, or to your chair, and then they give you their comments, and then you rewrite, and then you wait for feedback, and then you revise it, and you repeat as necessary until it's finished for style and content, and for formatting. It's a process. It takes time. Don't think it's just you. Don't think that there's something wrong with what you've done. That's just how the process works. Okay, next slide, please, Monica. Okay, now I'm going to introduce you to some awesome resources. 3 of them, actually. Raise your hand if you are a master's thesis student. Present. Okay, so Lorraine's going to pass out all these to the master's thesis people. I'm going to keep one so I remember what you said. Okay, raise your hand if you are a doctoral student. Two doctoral students. One here and two in the back. Two in the back.
Master's thesis.
All right, now what are you doctoral student? No. You want to be at some point. All right, your master's right now. Okay, so the rest are masters. Okay. Now what I'd like you to do is take some quiet time and take a look at the sheet that I gave you and find where you are on that sheet. And be quiet when you, it's sequential. If you have a pencil, you might want to put a little mark by maybe the ones that you've already accomplished. Check, 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 check. When you're finished, look up, please. Okay, so I'm going to ask you on the master's checklist, what to say? Where are you on the checklist? What number?
Number 2.
Number 2. In the master's checklist. Where are you on the master's checklist? Number 2. Okay, so I'm right away in my head, I kind of know where you are now. And where are you on the master's? 2. Oh, lots of 2s. How many? Raise your hand if you are at number 2. Okay, so a little bit. And what about 3? 4? 5? Anyone further along than 5? Further along? Good for you. Good for you. 5. Because you're almost there. Your next step is petition to graduate.
I already did it.
I'm sorry?
I already did that. I already did that.
You already did that? Oh my gosh. All right. So this is the most progress so far. All right. What about the doctoral students? The 3 of you that are here. What number are you?
3.
Number 3.
5.
5.
4.
4. Okay. So. Let me see, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is good because this tells me on my slides where I need to emphasize where you are. Okay, why that piece of paper, by the way, is so awesome. Not only does it give you action items, and there's a line there that you can put the date that you accomplished each of those things, those are your action items. Steps. Not only is it that, but do you notice there's some numbers by each of those? Okay, those numbers, it's like a code. Those numbers are going to refer you to a graduate policy. See, my goal was to put everything on one sheet. So we scrunched it all to one sheet. I didn't have room to put all these policies on that one sheet. So it's going to refer you, and I'll show you how that works a little bit later, to a policy where you can go and read a little bit more about the step that you're at. Okay. You're going to notice that the first digit on the master's policy begin with what digit? 1. On the doctoral policies, what digit does yours start with? 2. So that's a clue that all your policies are going to start with those numbers. The trick part of it is there's a section called Section 4 that all graduate students need to pay attention to, regardless of whether you're a Doctor of Psychology student or a master's student or a PhD, ADD, or DBA student. Okay. So next, some of you are at the step, please next one, where you're going to establish your committee. You haven't done that yet. So if you're a master's student, you need to have a minimum 3 members. You can have more than 3, that's up to you. If you're a doctoral student, you must have a minimum 2 on your committee. We've had students that have, I'm sorry, minimum 4, I misspoke. I've had doctoral students that have had 5, 6, 7, I think I've seen 7. Lorraine's going like this. Well, why do you say that?
And that's going to be a nightmare when
It
you
would
have
be a
to meet.
nightmare.
Yes.
Yeah, because you have to do what? You have to get them all to agree, and you have to get them, when it comes time for your defense, in the
Yes.
same room at the same time, plus you. So you want to have just enough. 4 is good. If you need somebody additionally for special expertise, maybe 5, that's fine. Question?
Does your advisor count as one member of the committee?
Now, when you go, see that little code number on your, matter of fact, well, no, it doesn't link. It's going to tell you, it has 2 pages in this manual. Was it say 1 point what? 1 point?
It says 1.5.
1.5. I'm going to show you how many pages of explanation it is. All this information, it tells you that your advisor can be the chair of your thesis. If you want that advisor to be the chair, it doesn't have to be. And then it says you need 1 outside member. Most of the committee members are going to be from your academic unit. If you're biology, they're going to be from there. Chemistry from there. But you have to have some outside member on your committee. How do you choose this? Well, would you flip onto the, I can do that, can I? Can I touch it? I don't think so. Okay. Parts of the vaccine, let's see. Let's pick chemistry. What's going to pop up are all the people in chemistry that you can choose from to be
On your committee?
now I'm going to get back to where I was going.
Just hit the side.
But I'm going to scroll instead. No, maybe not. And so all of the engineering systems, human-centered design, marine science. So when you're choosing somebody to be in your committee, if you're a master's student and you choose 2 from mathematical sciences, then you must pick an outside member from one of those other discipline clusters. So I know that's a lot to take in right now. I just wanted to overview that there's a place where you can go where there's some explanation for you. And of course, our office is always available to help you. All right, how do I get out of there?
Just hit the left side.
X up there? I can't reach it. That's what happened. Okay. All right, next slide, please. I'm going to ask this. You have professional faculty to help you all along the way. Raise your hand if, before you came to Florida Tech, you looked over some of our faculty to see what their research areas were. So you know the caliber of individuals that we have here, and that's why you're here, that's why you chose us. And so it's very important that you understand what their expertise is and not necessarily deviate too far away from their areas of expertise, because you'll run into a little stumbling block. You won't have the you won't have the support that you need. And if you try to go way far away, you're going to maybe get frustrated because the expertise is what they have. And that's just, some of these things that I'm going to tell you is opinion. So the fact is that you need to formally establish this committee. There's a piece of paper called Establishment of Committee Form. You need to fill it out. You will sign it. Your major advisor will sign it. Your academic unit head will sign it. And that has to be officially turned into our office. Okay? All right, next slide, please. If you're a PhD student, the three of you, yes ma'am. And you know what, you have to talk real loud, because I kind of hard of hearing.
No worries. For the committee, can it be also an industry member part of the committee, or does it have to be like a doctorate, like a professor with a PhD, or like a faculty with a PhD? What about people in the industry?
Okay, that's a good question. About 99% of the couple hundred individuals listed are full-time faculty members. Sometimes on that list, you might find somebody from NASA, you might find somebody from, I don't know, someone that's an expert, and you might find somebody from the University of Georgia on that list. There's a way that you can tell, but yes, we want, once you get the minimum, if you even have someone from outside that you want as a guest member because of the expertise, there's a way to do that also through our office, and there's a process for that. And that's common, especially in PhD work. Okay. That's great. Yes, ma'am.
How long in advance do we have to publish the company?
How long, what?
In advance, like before.
How long in advance? That's a good question too. There is it says that 99 doctoral student, a master's, yeah. Okay. You know, we don't have a requirement for that, but it's to your advantage to pull them together as soon as you can. It's sequential on here, Master's Committee Policy 1.5. It doesn't really say the Master's, I don't think. I could look, but I don't think it really says. For doctoral, it has to be 90 days in advance you pick your advisor, and then 60 days in advance of your comprehensive exam, you choose your committee. But if you're doing a thesis now, you're not going to want to bring people in at the end part of it, because then they won't know what you're doing. So if you figure that a thesis is going to take you 2 terms to do, you want to really back into that, so that you're not just working with your major advisor. Sometimes that happens. You work only with your major advisor. Some of them go too far with the student, I think, my opinion. Then nobody else is on board with what you and that advisor have thought about. So the more buy-in that you can get from your committee ahead of time, and all the more expertise you have, all the more support you have, that's what I would advise. So if it takes 2 terms to do it, you're going to back into that. All right, next time. This is PhD admission to candidacy. There are 3 requirements. Number 1, that you have a 3.2 GPA. Number 2, that you passed your doctoral comprehensive exam. And number 3, you have to have a conference with your, we call it the dissertation proposal conference, that has to be approved by your committee in order to be admitted to candidacy. When you get admitted to doctoral candidacy, you'll get a letter from our office. It'll say, congratulations, you've been admitted to doctoral candidacy. What that means is that you have to then continue signing up for dissertation every term. Well, actually, that's the next slide. Admission to PhD candidacy. Continued registration. See, once you start signing up for thesis, you have a requirement to continue to sign up for thesis every term until you finish. And just because it says 6 hours for thesis, that doesn't mean magically you're going to finish in 6 hours. It might take you 9 hours. It might take you longer. Similarly with dissertation, after admission to, I did that backwards, after admission to candidacy, you must register each term thereafter for dissertation 6999. Let's go to the next one. Okay. But my friend said, I can take the summer off. I've just told you that you have to register for continuous registration. But my friend, I can't tell you the number of times that students come into our office and say, my friend said, your friend is actually right. If you are, in this rare instance, is your friend right? If you're not using university resources or faculty for a summer, say, there's a form that you fill out that says, I'm not going to use resources, no labs, no faculty to work on my dissertation or thesis. Therefore, I want to take the summer off. And your advisor has to sign it, and your department head has to sign it. And that makes sense, you know, you're not paying for the faculty member, you don't have to register for thesis or dissertation because you're not using any resources. You can work on your own. If you're a doctoral student, you might want to do your review of literature all alone. You don't need a faculty member's help to do that necessarily. Okay. And the second exception is if it's time to graduate and you almost, let's just say it's fall term, and you almost had your dissertation done by fall term, and you just kind of couldn't quite get it together. You can go into the next, only in the term of graduation can you register for fewer than 3 hours. And there's a calendar that says we give you a little extra time, you can register for 0 hours, you don't have to pay. If you miss that next deadline, which is about 4 weeks later, then you would register for 1 hour, you only have to pay for 1 hour. If you miss that deadline, then you have to, so we would give you time to work on things only in the semester of graduation. Okay, next please. PhD course requirements, it's going to point you to 2.2.2. It's going to tell you how many formal courses you need to take, and that's dependent on your whatever program you're in. It's going to tell you how many dissertation hours you need. It's minimum 15 have to be taken with admission to candidacy. I'm going over these kind of fast because there's not as many dissertation students here. Next, thesis and dissertation grades. This is true for all of you. A grade of S is satisfactory. That's great. That's what you want to get. Unsatisfactory. Once you earn an unsatisfactory, it can't be replaced or removed. And incomplete, if for some reason you're going along nicely and you are injured in an automobile accident in the last, 3 weeks of classes, then your professor may assign an incomplete if that's what the two of you work out. For the first thesis course, a satisfactory is only assigned once you turn in your proposal. For thesis students, 2 U grades will result in dismissal. And for PhD students, 2 failing grades, D, F, or U at any time in your graduate program will result in dismissal. None of you are going to do that, but I thought it was wise to mention it so that you know. Your grade point average, we've seen it. Students with 3.5, 3.6 GPA, and they're dismissed because they've earned 2 U's. Next. Dissertation preparation and defense. We have guidelines that say you have to have critical judgment, intellectual synthesis, creativity, skills, and written communication. I have seen students with all A's in their coursework. They get stuck when it comes time to do their thesis or dissertation. And that's because they're used to thinking specifically and not creatively. So I've had a student come into my office and she said, I remember she was a mathematics student, she said, my professor didn't give me a topic for my dissertation. And I said, that's right. Your professor doesn't need to give you a topic. You have to come up with your own topic after you do the review of literature and you see what's missing, what hasn't been done yet. But if you're in a mindset that says, I'm going to just take this class and I'm going to get an A in it, I'm going to do what they tell me to do, and then you go over to a dissertation mode or a thesis mode, you have to think creatively and inquisitively and see what's missing from the literature and what you want to do. So, material contribution to knowledge, that means it hasn't been done before, or if your study's been done before and you want to replicate it, you have to say why you need to replicate something. And then we have formatting requirements. Our office will help you with that. Next, please. Awesome resource number 2. This is how our office helps you. I'm going to touch it. On our website, we have a lot of wonderful resources. Deadlines that I was talking about. Forms and documents. That establishment of committee form, it's on there. The graduate faculty list, it's on our website. All the graduate policies are on the website. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I was telling you about policies. Okay, so I was telling you the master's policies. No?
You gotta be more ordered.
Okay. Nope. Nope. No. Gonna do this. But anyway, they're there. Trust me, they're there. Okay. It's wise to just become familiar with the website. There's a lot of good resources there. Deadlines are posted on our website too. And if you miss any announcements, any deadlines, then it's possible that you may not be able to graduate. Great. And please, please, please plan ahead to ensure your success. And now I've talked for a bit, and Monica's going to give you a little bit more specific information. In my office, I'm more the expert on graduate policy, and Monica and Patty are more the experts on formatting and exactly how to do it. So Monica's going to take over from here for her part.
Okay, so I am Monica. I work in the Office of Graduate Programs along with Patty. So like Dr. Lee mentioned, we're a bit more skilled or familiar with the mechanics, so to speak, of the thesis formatting process. We look at things such as like page number placement, margins, tables, figure captions, all of that good stuff. So what's really great is that the Thesis Manual Style Guide for use at Florida Institute of Technology, 3rd edition, is intended to provide visual guidance for you and also some tips and tricks. What's really nice is that it's posted on our OGP website and also available on the library's website as well. And there might be a couple of hard copies floating around too. So you might see them. It's kind of like a soft cover yellow type of book with a black spiral bound style here. But we do let students know to keep in mind that the style guide was created in the early 1990s and it hasn't been updated since then, but what's inside is still true. So maybe some of the graphics and the visuals might look a little dated, but the general formatting and the framework and the skeleton remains the same. So what we let students know is that it's just a guide on where you want to be formatting-wise, and you also want to choose the techniques, the methods, and the technology to get the job done. So what we mean by that is that you can use anything from Word document, you can use LaTeX. So those are like the two different, I guess, word processing programs students usually use. So you have some flexibility and latitude in that. We also have something called tutorials and templates. So it's best to use the FIT thesis template early on to avoid any formatting issues. And what's really nice, excuse me, is that on our website, we do have a Word doc that you can click on and it will open up a template, and you could literally plug in your information into it, which is wonderful. And some advisors actually recommend that their students do this at the proposal stage, when they're proposing either their thesis or dissertation, because it'll save you a lot of time and heartache when you're trying to format in that final month of when your document is due. So just a little bit of word to the wise there. We also have another template, or tutorial in this case, where it will be submitting your thesis step by step, and it's a handy guide to the electronic thesis and dissertation submittal process. The library was kind enough to create that for us since our submission requirements have changed a little bit, and we're going more to a digital format versus handing in hard copies. What's really nice is that the library is also a fantastic resource if you were trying to do the submission of your thesis. They have wonderful staff members here, and also plenty of computers where you can upload, and then you can do the submission to the ETD website, because the ETD website is part of what the library needs to collect from you. And then another piece of it that is linked to that is how to generate a PDFA, another tutorial that the library has created. Because the library is collecting a digital version, a soft copy of your document, you will have to first do the PDFA conversion of your Word doc or of your LaTeX. Sometimes it's a bit more automatic with LaTeX files. And then you would upload it to the library's portal. So what's really nice, we let students know that PDFA is a little bit different than your regular PDF. What's great about that is it makes it like a read-only copy, so nobody can modify it. So you just want to watch out and make sure that your document's in PDFA format, because if not, then the library or our office might send it back. Because you don't want someone going in there and opening up your PDF and having fun with it. So you want to make sure it's a read-only copy. And what's really nice is that you can find all of this information on our website and the library's website. And if you have trouble locating it, we welcome you to either stop in, you can call us, email us. We'll make sure that you have all the resources you need to successfully turn it in and make it as smooth as possible. And kind of like what Dr. Lee was touching upon earlier, we have deadlines, and sometimes Patty and I will mention the phrase turn-in date. You might see emails coming out from us on Fit Forum, sometimes even just in conversation. Sometimes students will come in and go, when do we need to turn in? And then that's usually when you're closer to the end, you'll kind of know what that means, that phraseology. So for thesis and dissertations that do not conform to the required format will not be accepted. That sounds pretty scary, but what's not scary is that we're here to help you out ahead of time. So hopefully you'll encounter that in the last month. So the sooner you see us, the better. But the turn-in date is defined in graduate policies, the date on which the signed signature page and archival copy of your thesis or dissertation are accepted by the Office of Graduate Programs. And then acceptance by our office, the OGP, of the completed and signed thesis is required for your graduation. That's one of the graduation requirements you might see on your audit letter. So just be aware of that. It might be one piece of it, but it's a really, really big piece. And the sooner that you can get it in and give yourself that peace of mind, the better. Especially some of our students that are still tying up other things. Some of you might be teaching classes, and then you can focus on grading your papers. Or some students are even taking classes, and they can focus on those classes. Once in a while it happens. So just a word to the wise on that. So this kind of goes back to what I was just touching upon. You want to plan your turn-in strategy. So we say it's usually like a threefold process, 3 parts. So the first one is the initial format check. So we advise students, as early as you would like, whatever you have written up, you can bring your document to us in hard copy form to visit OGP in the academic quad. So in the academic quad, we are building 402, room 100. So we're kind of specifically in that corner of the quad. We provide individual assistance to all of our students in person, one-on-one. And we say it approximately takes about 20 to 30 minutes because what we want to do is make sure that you have a very thorough format check. If you have any questions, we can answer anything and everything, and if we're not sure, then we can do research on it and get back to you there. And then, this is where Dr. Lane comes in, which she mentioned earlier. She is the expert on the signature page. So, when you get closer to finishing up your thesis or dissertation, you'll definitely know what a signature page is, and you're going to know how important it is too. So what we advise students to do is create that as early as possible, and the signature page exists in both the Word template and the LaTeX template, which is wonderful. So you can just pull that right up, plug in all the names, the committee members, your title, and then you can have it verified in our office by Dr. Lane. The sooner that you do that, the better, especially sometimes it might not be as accurate as you think it is, so you don't want to run around getting those signatures all over again. That's been a nightmare for some of our students, so you want to avoid that as well. A little bit more word to the wise. I've seen that happen. And then there's also the electronic submission piece, which is critical for what the library needs from you, which is uploading to the ETD site. So what we do is when students come in for initial format checks, we provide the template information, we provide the tutorials for converting to PDFA, and submission to the ETD website. And what we let students know is that if they have any questions about that, then they're more than welcome to visit the library for a very smooth and seamless experience. Since they're kind of the keepers of that information, they're the experts, so they've got the knowledge, they've got the tools, the technology, and the know-how. So they're going to save you a lot of time and heartache. And then we just advise students to pretty much go to, I want to say it's the iDesk. You go right to the first floor, go right up there, and they'll take care of you from there. And then there's a third piece of it, which is the in-person and hard copy turn-in in our office in OGP. So you're going to do a final turn-in of documents. And since we don't do a hard copy document per se of your thesis or dissertation, there are other printouts that you'll need, like your signature page, you'll need one of those. There's going to be an ETD access form. For some of our doctoral students, there might be a certificate or a doctorate confirmation sheet you turn in. But when you come in for a format check, you'll kind of know what those documents are and you'll become more familiar with it. And then what we advise students to do is also to bring in a printed copy of your document for comparison purposes. It doesn't have to be bound, it doesn't have to be in pristine condition, just as long as it's something to kind of check along with what you've uploaded to the library's website. So it's a really nice reference point for you because sometimes what you see on the screen isn't always what you printed out. So it's just nice to have a control in the experiment, something that you know is correct in front of you, versus looking at just the digital one, and stuff can kind of escape you sometimes if you're just scanning with your eyeballs. So what you want to do is leave yourself enough time to allow a seamless turn-in experience. So the more that you come in, the more that you communicate with us, let us know what's going on, the more that we can assist you too, which really, really helps you in the end. But sometimes what we let students know is that, let's see if there's anything else here. Oh yeah, so yes, if you have issues with your signature page, you want to make sure that it's correct because sometimes that could delay in a turnaround time and turning in your document too. We've seen students where they've done everything right and then there's something wrong with the signature page. They might have had a typo. Or somebody signed in the wrong place. That's happened before too. Once in a while, they'll change their title or put an S on the end of something. And then your abstract and title page are singular, not plural. So just watch out for stuff like that. But we're trying not to make it scary. And the more that you come in and visit us, I think the easier it's going to be. So we do have another awesome resource. Myself and Patty, the two of us.
Awesome resource number 3. They really are very awesome. They're very patient and they explain things very, very nicely. So they're awesome resource number 3.
And we just advise students that if you have any questions, feel free to come to us in a multitude of ways, whether it's a phone call, email, in-person visit. We're here to help you get across the finish line. So we reassure students, it's almost like when you're running the marathon and you're getting really tired and you see these people holding out the water cups. We're the ones that hold them out for you to get you across that finish line. We want to support you. We're not the ones that are just like dumping the water on you unless that's what you want, but we're handing the water to you so you can drink and get across the finish line. We want to see you do well. This is what we really enjoy this time of the year. We celebrate with you. Sometimes we try to empathize with you, but at the same time when you're stressed, that's when we step in and we're like, okay, let's get you focused and back on track. We've done that a few times and we've had our students do incredibly well. Because we want you to keep focused and finish. That's why we're here. We love cheering you on. So then we just advise you to come visit us for a format check. And what we do is we have them done daily, Monday through Friday, between 8:30 and 11:30 a.m. and between 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. in the afternoons in academic quad 402, room 100. And we let students know that you can do walk-in, or you can contact us through email or call us to make an appointment if your schedule is a bit more confined. Some of our students work here on the campus and they have to let a supervisor know, or it just works better for them for structure. So if you schedule an appointment with us, we just say that we usually do them in 30-minute increment blocks, so then you can plan accordingly and put it into your schedule. Now it's question time.
Okay. Now, when I ask, what questions do you have? I'm not saying do you have any questions, because then you might say, no, I don't have questions. So, what questions do you have? I know you got some. Yes, ma'am.
Due date to submit dissertation this semester.
What?
The due date, I need the due date.
Oh, the due date. Oh, my God. You don't want to do, you want to do yours ahead of the due date.
Yes.
No.
Yes,
We have a
exactly.
calendar, and the calendar is the absolute drop dead turn-in
Yes.
is Monday, May 4th.
Oh, okay.
You don't want to wait till anywhere near
Okay.
there, because what happens is, when it gets to like the end of the term, all the people on your committee, all the faculty on your committee are busy.
Okay.
They're busy with final exams, or they're busy with other students. You really want to back into that.
Yes, I got
Really,
this.
really want to back into that. And I hate to say it, but I'm going to go down to just, Monica's going to be out for a little while, and only Patty's going to be here to format checks.
I know.
Turn in. So, we come in early. Yes, ma'am?
So, for master thesis, we also have classes to take, as you mentioned before. Is it possible somebody to defend before the completion of all the classes required before the master's degree?
Oh, to defend before completion of classes?
Correct.
Yes. Yes.
So we can defend anytime we're ready?
Anytime your advisor and you think that you're ready, yes. Yes, that's a good idea. Because I didn't think that students might think they have to wait till the very end of the term. We don't encourage that at all.
Also on that, you said that once somebody takes like thesis credits or dissertation credits, they have to keep taking such credits?
Yes, the thesis, once you start taking 3 hours, the next term you have to take.
What if
3
I'm
hours.
taking out like classes the next term instead of thesis credits? Is that possible?
You have to take 3 every term, unless you don't want any help, unless it's summer and you're not going to be here.
No, assuming that I'm done with my thesis.
Oh, if
And
you're
I
done
only
with it,
have
oh no, if you're done, it's 3 hours until you're done.
Okay.
Yeah, when you turn in, then you're done.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Way in the back.
Can you touch on the creative piece? Can you touch on the creative piece again?
Creative piece.
You mentioned
Yes, some
creativity,
people
that caught
can't
me.
see creative. People can't. Like, see this necklace? What is this? What do you think this is? A what? An octopus?
It's a mirage.
It's an octopus, or say that word again, quadrupod. Cephalopod? Cephalopod, might be a cephalopod, because you're seeing it factually, right? Okay, but before it was an octopus or a cephalopod, do you know what it was? Before it was that, what was it? Yes, ma'am. I'll give you a hint. Somebody looked at a fork and they saw, oh, that's kind of like a squid or an octopus or a cephalopod, and I'll just make it into that. So, a creative piece is the highest order of thinking. It's not rote memory, it's not application, it's the highest order of learning. When you can take all that you've learned and create something different. Not just to be cute, but to solve some problem.
Okay.
To create it, to put it together. Some cannot see that. They're factual, and you're not telling me what to do. You have to explore. This is how we invent things, you know.
Thank you.
No,
It's a much bigger letter than that.
it's a much bigger way.
It's a much bigger letter to explain the creatives and the process.
Yeah, you can't, yes, you almost can't explain it.
You can't teach somebody how to be creative.
You can't teach somebody, well, you know what, you might. You might get them to think creatively, or you might, maybe. What can I see? What's the possibility? How many things can you do with a red paper clip?
Trade it up to the house.
You could take a red paper clip and think, how many ways can you use that red paper clip? There have been people who do it. Google it, 101 ways to use a red paper clip. You know, I can put it on my ears for earrings, I can make a belt out of it, but I could also use it to start my Fitbit, you know, when it's stuck. You can't really do it, but I remember when I was in elementary school, and I remember this vividly. I was drawing something, I was coloring, and I made the sky purple, pink and purple. And the teacher said, the sky is blue. Now, I went to school a long time ago. I'm talking in the 50s. And that's how people thought then, the sky is blue. Well, no, it's not. Look outside and the sky is purple sometimes, and pink even, and orange. So just see things a different way. Open your mind to it. You know, that's my lecture on creativity. I don't know how to answer that question.
It's perfect.
But I gave a real creative answer, didn't I?
Yes.
More questions?
Just to double check, you mentioned it, I just wanted to hear it once again.
Yes.
You require one hard copy to verify the electronic copy.
We do.
Okay.
You'd be surprised how many students will, because they're nervous, it's turn-in time, they're getting ready to graduate, and they look at the because we sit there, Monica and Patty sit there with the computer screen, and we say this, and they look at the hard copy and they say, that's not what I wanted to say, I posted the wrong one. You know, it happens.
Okay.
So it can be written over on it, but it's just something to ground the student. Okay, we're going to hang around back here for more questions.
Okay, before you guys take off, I just want to make a couple of announcements quickly. And we'd first like you guys to thank Dr. Wayne and Monica for taking the time to present this very useful information to us. So that shows that. I would also like, for those of you who came in late or who haven't signed in as yet, please let Lorraine or Innocent know, because they want to take your attendance report app or manually. And last but not least, I also want to inform you guys that we have some other activities planned for you this semester, and the topics are grant proposal writing, which is going to be the next activity in February. We also have research ethics. That's going to be a very important topic while you're preparing to do your experiments and stuff like that. We're going to be looking at publishing research. So those of you who are interested in writing articles and submitting to journals and so forth, we'll go in depth on that. We also have another session on poster research posters, how to make those effectively so that they're communicating to your audiences well. And last but not least, we have a session on interdisciplinary teamwork. So thank you guys once again for coming out, and we look forward to seeing you again at our next event.